Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 119 of Mini Truckin Magazine, November of 2001. This is Robbie Kay's 94 Mitsubishi Might Max. And this is, of course, a standard cab truck in yellow. The model is Jamie Medeiros, I believe is how you say her name. Beautiful, beautiful Jamie Medeiros. Pete Finlan painted this truck when Jendro was on. We talked about the build. This was the second Mighty Max to grace the cover out of 5 total. And the third of 5 cover trucks with TSW wheels. Now, keep in mind, Robbie lived in High Shoals, North Carolina. So this truck was West Coast built, but of course he lived on the East, which was kind of a cool thing, especially back then. You really didn't see, you saw some of it, but not a lot. We'll talk about Wes Allison, how many covers he shot up to this point. Just stick with us till the end. And I'll also talk about how many issues so far out of 119 had a cover on the model. So I'll give those little facts at the end. Please stick with us. My only ask is, can we please bring back models on the cover of magazines? I love it. So let's jump right in. I would tell you, go to Our Lifestyle Podcast, the first link in the description below. You can buy stickers like this. There's a ton of awesome merchandise, and we really appreciate the support. So we've got the Alter Images ad that we've been accustomed to seeing. The table of contents continues to kind of be refined, I think is a good word. You see Jamie Medeiros here on the left and on the right. You can see the events for in Fantasy Spring Fling. I was at that Spring Fling. The Unibagger, we'll talk more about that. The Isuzu from Local Minis. And some more shots of the Mighty Max. The merch, the website, all the stuff that they were pushing at the time. If you like what we're doing here, leave a comment. Consider subscribing. We appreciate it. Relationships, a matter of perspective. The scrub line from Lance this month. Here we see Dustin Haven, his new project. Suicidal Toy. This truck is still around, which is awesome. It's a testament to the builder. Dustin, I got a chance to meet him, and I do have him on our list to get him on. Of course, he had success with the S10, and he goes on to build Suicidal Toy that'll grace the cover. Here's the Godfather ad, the big color ad. This is Red Dog, so a famous truck, Tim Barrier. Now, I met Tim at Mini Nats, and Tim had shared with me he had been going through some health challenges in life. He's on our list, and I do hope to link up with him. I don't know that I'll be able to record at Mini Nats this year, but he's I tell you what, he's got an amazing story, and he's really persevered through a lot. This was his truck, Red Dog. I remember it back from the Street Tours days. Of course, it was featured here. It was also ran in the sister publication, Truckin, and Red Dog was his nickname, I'm assuming even before the truck. But this is one S10 that I actually really dig the shaved corners. So if you guys have kind of been listening and following these, you know that it's maybe not my favorite mod on an S10. This truck, I think, pulls it off because of the Phantom grille. So for the record, I don't diss the mod. It's just not my favorite, but I do like it on this truck. I believe, if I remember correctly, this truck went on to get additional work done after this. And I think this was, I'm going from memory, you guys will have to chime in. I believe this is one of the only S10s I know where I think he did a mod where when the door opens, it's only the bottom of the door. It's not the frame, I think. So that's going from memory. But Tim was a super cool dude. I talked to him, I don't know, it felt like 30 minutes to an hour just, about life. And he's just a great guy. He's been through a lot. So I do hope that he'll be able to tell his story, or that he will come on. I did message him a couple weeks back, and he said he had been dealing with some things, but shout out to Subculture. Of course, that was his fam there. You're going to see kind of here, I'm not trying to speed through these by any means, but you know that these can easily get long. So I kind of have the mindset of get through the content, tell a little bit of the story, but, don't make them too long. Okay, this was Finnegan shoot Y2K runner. That ties into, of course, Y2K, which was still kind of a lingering topic, I think, even into 2001 to a certain extent. But obviously, this is that would make me think it's a 2000. Super clean, not a lot of 4Runners built in this era, at least this body style, but this is definitely one that comes to mind that was one of the cleanest out there. Again, there were some, not a lot. Here you see Matt Reed, the 73 Datsun. This thing was pretty crazy. And then you have James Cummins with the 85 Toyota standard cab in construction zone. Again, if you like what we're doing here, leave a comment, consider subscribing, and check out OLP, which is short for Our Lifestyle Podcast, via almost any podcast app. Mini Laughter, you can see it kind of has continued to expand here. And that's thanks to Finnegan. And we kind of saw that so far if you've watched the last couple of these. Now, you might be new and you're like, hey, this is kind of cool. This isn't our first issue. We started at issue 1. Which is crazy. I think I actually started at issue 3 because I didn't have issue 1 and 2 at the time. But we go all the way back to issue 1. So, of course, you can also look in the description. I go through after I record this, I type up pretty much everything that I cover. All of the feature names and all of that. It all goes in the description. So, check it out. West Coast Deluxe, built for East Coast Pimpin'. So again, I think this story is super cool to me because the guy Robbie that owned it, he had linked up with Jendro to build it. Now I say Jendro, Jendro I think clarified too that at the time, and a lot of this stuff I can't rattle off because I don't know all their history, but I do know that Jendro talked about Brand X Customs. So rest in peace, Alex Who. And this truck, I think, was technically built under that moniker, if you will, in terms of that shop. But, of course, Jendro was kind of the lead fabricator. Anywhere he's going to be the lead. And shout out to him for coming on the podcast. You can see they're super clean. And the third of 5. So not a lot of Mighty Max trucks on the cover. That's a shame. 94 Mitsubishi Might Max, High Shoals, North Carolina. So, again, not the only person we heard have a truck built on the West that came from the East, but certainly not a lot of those. You've been working on the Mighty Max right around 2 years, he kind of goes on, and that's why I did like these interviews, because some of the write-ups would get a little bit boring. He talks about Pete Finlan. Pete is still on Instagram. He always does. Ironically enough, today is Wednesday. He does Wiener Wednesday, which ties into hot dogs. He loves hot dogs, hence the name Hot Dog Design. And Jendro talked about on the podcast, if you go back and listen to that episode, Pete's very many partnerships he had with painting stuff that he or whatever shop that he was at built. So awesome. The front bumper, the Phantom grille, the graphics going from the bumper to the hood, the rag top, just the graphics, super awesome. But definitely a timeless truck. Now, this is a truck too that I would wonder, where is it? Of course, shout out to the Mini Truckin group, Mini Truckin, where are they now? Which is a fantastic group. A lot of people in there support the channel, so thank you guys. But that's one place I could post and ask. Down2Earth and Drop Dead ... So I believe the pronunciation is Jamie Medeiros. And this is probably one of my favorite models on the cover. You might be able to tell why. This, again, it was Down2Earth. And they were kind of short interviews. But again, I thought what was cool is they got an opportunity to, at the time she was 23, to share some of their personal rides, their websites. And you guys know in the early issues, they didn't always even mention the model's name. So, you got to kind of give credit there. And I'm sure some of those models, I don't know what they were making at the time. I mean, I wouldn't imagine it would have been a lot for a shoot like this, but I could be wrong. Okay. So this truck was Keith Thompson. And Keith, we would see this thing kind of all over the Southeast. I think it was known as the Unibagger. And if you can look at that photo there, or the video photo you'll see why there is one bag with one line going to it. It was a little bit different. I remember seeing it at Blood Drag. And you could see, man, just a cool truck. I really dig it. And, but it was a little bit different with the one bag. I will say that. Forbidden Fantasy Show and Shine. So, like I've said in the past, a lot of dates come from, you know, these magazines or online coverage. We're able to look back, and when I make notes, I will routinely make a note of like first annual or first inaugural, second annual, that type of thing. This, of course, is Forbidden Fantasy back in the day. You can see a cool photo there with the Moz dog. Looks like a convertible, maybe. Here is the cover truck we saw not too long ago, the Blazer. People chimed in and they go, man, that brought back a lot of memories. I remember looking at that magazine, or I lived in the same town, or I knew him, or I haven't seen that guy in a long time. It's kind of cool to do these because we get a lot of comments from people that said, man, you know, 2000, 2001, that's when I got involved. That's when I started going to shows, this and that. And it's cool. I really appreciate all the comments, man. I try to comment back on every single one. It might take me a day or so sometimes, but I do comment back. Bounce with me. So, Devious Customs doing a tech article. And again, this was in the era of everybody trying to do fast bags. You can actually kind of see here, which is something that I would say was a rare thing. This looks like a 1/2-inch line. You don't see that very often. It's tough to bend. And, you know, those are the, you know, valves that a lot of people started running. You can see here in that era, you know, bigger valve, bigger airline, you know, everything was about speed at that point. Not everything, but a good majority of it. Here you can see what better way to market your truck than they had a TCM, Timeless Custom Manufacturing. We just saw the Yoda, and I talked about TCM, and I wanted to mention this is their ad. And of course, there's the truck right there. So that was a great way to market it. Supercharged Powerhouse. So tech article. That would have been a great tech article too, because again, there's a lot of, you know, you can imagine the readers, a ton of people that had S10s. This is Spring Fling 2001. I was there. Now, if you go back on our channel or you search our channel, Spring Fling 2001, you'll see I posted coverage. I have video, and I got to thank LMC from Lowest Common Denominator, also known as LCD podcast. He sent me a camcorder where I could put the tapes that I had in and pull and kind of rip that video, if you will, into the computer. And I post some things from this show. Here's Tom Bennett. I've become good friends with Tom. He built the Cheetah Blazer, which is no longer in existence, and he's since built a Lincoln, then a Cadillac. Now he's putting the final finishing touches on his F100 unibody that's going to be at Mini Nats. Spring Fling, Matt could chime in, Matt Torgersen. Hopefully you'll get a chance to link up with Matt here soon, up in North Carolina. I can't remember if Matt's van was shot at Spring Fling or at the Tampa show. I can't remember. But the video that I post, I show Matt's van in there, and Matt's van was very, very cool. Again, you see the Cheetah Blazer, this Isuzu. Remember taking photos of it. There were a couple of trucks. Now, I get this confused based upon where we're parked. I think this was Eric's truck here. I'm pretty certain it was. And Eric, Matt had body dropped it, and I think he did a different cross member or something. I mentioned we got this thing shot at Blood Drag, and it ran a tailgate. And then he had just gotten some pieces airbrushed in the bed cover and stuff. And that was kind of a setup that Matt did on a couple of trucks, kind of similar to Rob Scepter, rest in peace, how he had the air tank here, and then you had the battery box and that type of thing. But I think there were a couple of these on the scene at the point, but I want to say this is it, because he had a step side bed, I think. But he ended up getting in Severed, Florida, And he, you know, I don't think he was in the scene too long. Here's Matt's van again. You'll see a photo, or you'll see video of it if you check out Spring Fling 2001. The cool thing is we met up with the Severed Florida guys in Orlando at Matt's shop, and I had forgotten about that video of meeting up. And then, of course, we were cruising through the Panhandle. A couple of the Severed guys were rolling out. And, like, I think Matt chimed in and said, man, I forgot about this video. I didn't even realize you were filming. And it was like, yeah, it's just like another lifetime. Life in the Phat Lane. Yo, I drive a bucket. So Finnegan, when we had Finnegan on, for those that don't know, we did have Finnegan on the podcast. I talked about a C10 that he was building when he was over at Sport Truck. And I remember that truck getting stolen. And he had confirmed, yeah, that had happened. But he kind of gives a little bit more detail to it. Booger Bash, super clean Mazda. Again, I like the tilt hood. Front end's cool, a little bit different. There's Donnie's Toyota, Subculture at that time. And super clean. We talked a little bit about it. Showed the Truckin feature on the channel. And then here's is that Fred's? It's got to be Fred's. Well, I don't know if that's Fred sitting in it, though. But we had Fred on recently that has the Amigo, the Isuzu Amigo. You see a Silver Star here. Another tech article. Orange U, a cool one. So kind of a different title, but you can see here Travis Vanilla Noack. Travis, he was really good about at these shows, just banging out features. And I mentioned that fence. A lot of trucks were shot in front of that fence, including Tom's Blazer. I think it was 01 was the year that we hung out. So this would have been from February 01, the feature. That's when we hung out with John from Tailgate for the first time. And he gave us a ton, like boxes of magazines. And, of course, I was a Tailgate subscriber since day one. And I know some of you guys are thinking, yeah, I am going to go through all those issues. I have misplaced 2 issues over the course of time. Don't know what happened to them. But hopefully I'll be able to fill those in and go through every issue of Tailgate. Got a lot of Truckins as well. I've kind of went through the collection. I have almost every issue in the 1990s. There's a few here and there I'm missing, but rest assured this channel is going to continue to grow. Here we see the photo that I keep talking about. So I know I'm not going to let that go. Charles, the Kid Armstrong, the Yoda. This is in the Whazz Up section. And I think this was a buddy of ours that got out of the scene that I mentioned recently. I think he was in Under Construction. I think that's his Nissan Hardbody. I think he had the Psychos or Wild Horse wheels. That rings a bell. And then here's Mini Truckin Graffiti. See the tag? I think we saw that recently. Topless. Kind of go through these a little slower. Famous Mazda. This truck was featured, I think, in Tailgate. No, excuse me, Sport Truck. Mother's Pearl comes to mind for some reason with that one. It was kind of a different title name. But, again, these Ford Rangers, I have a hard time. Some of you guys can rattle off and go, hey, this one became... You know, there was Lethal Injection. There was this one. I always get them mixed up. Did that one become that one? And that type of thing. But, and then that looks like Corey's Hardbody that we talked about recently. So, I appreciate all of the people that watch to the end. It helps us out. Leave a comment. Shout out to Robbie Kay for building just an awesome truck. So the last couple things I'll share with you. Wes Allison's 30th cover on Mini Truckin Magazine. This was the 84th issue to have a model on the cover. So 70% of the cover so far, through 119, had a model on the cover. So basically a lady on the cover, which is super cool. Again, thanks for the support. Hit up ourlifestylepodcast.com. Order some merchandise, including paying homage to the OG logo. And stay on the rise, y'all. Subscribe. We got you. Peace.